one of the most terrifying stories of Colombia.
Rafael Uribe contra Rafael Uribe Noguera, el hombre señalado de violar y asesinar a la pequeña Juliana Zamboni.
In the following video, I will tell you one of the most sinister, terrifying and disgusting stories in Latin America, where specifically in Colombia. And I remember that this case was super controversial in that time. I'm going to tell you about a person, member of one of the wealthiest families in Colombia, a degenerate crackhead who has done a lot of unpleasant things. His name, Rafael Uribe Noguera.
Rafael Uribe puso contra las cuerdas a Rafael Uribe Noguera,
who was born 44 years ago, son of a constructors. The name of the company, Laxcaus Constructions. In his childhood, Rafael studied in one of the top schools in Bogota, the name Gimnasio Moderno. And then he turned down one of the top universities in Bogota, Colombia, La Javeriana, in which he received his degree in architecture. Friends and family will describe him as a problematic person just when he drinks. Having said that, let's begin. On December 4 of 2016, this fucker, Rafael decides to leave one of the apartments that he had in his possession. Full of dopamine, Rafael drove around 10 minutes, or a little bit less, I think less, to find his victim, a 7-year-old little baby. Her name, Juliana Zamboni, a little girl who was born in 2009, members of an indigenous ethnic group called Yanacona.
Yo creo que seríamos un mejor país si acabaría, digamos, las guerras, si acabarían las violaciones,
She lived with her parents, Juvencio and Nelly, also with her 2 brothers, total of 4. They moved to Bogota, living one of the most impoverished and violent regions departments in Colombia. For those who doesn't understand what department is, well, it's like the States but in a Colombian version, let's say it like that, it works like that. Settling in a house in one of the poorest neighbors in Bogota, Bosque Calderon. Now you're watching the neighbor of Juliana Zamboni. And this was her house. 1 kilometer from there, from Bosque Calderon, is Chapinero Alto, or Upper Chapinero, if we can call it like that. That is one of the tops and wealthiest neighbors in Bogota. These were the house of Rafael Uribe Noguera. On December 4 of 2016, was Sunday actually, at 9 a.m. in the morning, Rafael was prowling in the neighbor Bosque Calderon, looking for a victim. Juliana was playing with her cousins and friends, when suddenly on that fatigued December 4th at 9:20 a.m., Rafael decided to ask the kids that were playing for one direction. Juliana approached to the truck. Rafael opened the door and forced her into the car. He will become aggressive. The terror of the girl will start because Rafael will start beating her savagely. While he was driving, several cameras captured the picture of poor Juliana trying to escape at that very moment. Juliana's parents will report the kidnapping to the police, which immediately checked the cameras of the city, and they saw that the license plates were registered under the name of Francisco Uribe Noguera, the brother of Rafael Uribe Noguera, the aggressor. Back with Rafael, it was 9:30 in the morning when he arrived at one of his apartments, located on Carrera Primera with Calle 68, or First Avenue with 68th Street, with the girl. The name of the building, Ecus 64. Here you can see Rafael arriving to his building with Juliana. And in these moments you can see the barely moments that the cameras record Rafael. And from this camera you can see a Rafael apparently hitting Juliana. But one of the weirdest things is that he left the parking lot. No one knows why. He returned to his truck and went to another of his apartments, which was in the process of being rented. The name of the building, Ecus 66. There, the security guy, Fernando Merchan Murillo, allowed Rafael to enter with the little girl. He also received orders, specifically orders from Rafael that say that do not allow anyone to enter to his apartment. He will commit suicide after finding out what had happened that night, hanging himself. Because he didn't want to go back to jail. Yeah, the guy was an ex-convict. He considered himself accomplice for having denied the entrance of Raphael's brother to the apartment when they were looking for him. Basically, he could save this poor little girl, but he just ignored everything. In the apartment, Raphael tortured, raped, beaten, and teared Juliana in such a brutal way that he destroyed her internal organs. Then Raphael suffocated her to death. 12 hours later, police will find Juliana's body inside the jacuzzi, dipped in oil to remove all the evidence. The judge assigned to this case cried while he was reading the acts that this guy did to the little girl. But before we get this point, I know you're wondering what happened with the police. Well, when the police discovered that the vehicle was in name of Francisco Uribe Noguera, they called him because his vehicle was involved in a kidnapping. Francisco, who was in a barbecue at that moment, not knowing anything about what was happening, Francisco told the police that this car was for family use. So he decided to contact the family members and acquaintances, but no one knew what was happening at that moment, and the only person that didn't pick up the phone was Rafael Uribe Noguera. Not knowing anything about his brother, Francisco decided to go with his sister Catalina to the apartment where Rafael lives, but he wasn't there. The security guy for the first building, the Echo 64, told him that Rafael arrived there, but he just spent a couple of minutes in the parking lot and left. Around 3:32 p.m., Francisco and his sister decide to look for Rafael, in the other building, Echo 66. In fact, that apartment was empty for rent, where the security, the one who commits suicide, allowed them to enter, the brothers, to the instances of them. They rang several times, but he didn't open the door for them. Here you can see the security guy, Rafael's sister, and proximally is gonna show up the Rafael's brother. Desperate, they decide to enter the penthouse by climbing the roof of the building. So here you can see the Rafael's brother climbing the top of the building, trying to enter to the penthouse. And finally finding Rafael drunk and lying on the floor, totally lost and disoriented. They will spend 4 hours inside the apartment. They decide to call a taxi and take Rafael to the clinic in Montserrat, a clinic for patients with psychiatric disorders. I believe that these 4 hours that they spent inside the apartment, they were planned to transfer him to the clinic to avoid further conviction, though the police were looking for the girl. Also, I want to tell you that in these 4 hours, they tried to rent a chartered flight to disappear the girl's body. I mean, can't you believe this kind of people in the world? I mean, instead of notify the police that they already found Rafael. From the Montserrat clinic, they transferred Rafael to the Navarre clinic. And at 7 p.m., they notified the police that they already found Rafael. But these kind of people did not give any information to the police about Juliana's corpse. The police discovered Juliana's corpse thanks to the fact that the security guard who started his night shift told the police that the security guard to whom he received the shift, Fernando Merchan Murillo, had told him that Rafael had entered with a little girl. After hearing this, he called the police and told them what had happened. When Francisco Uribe Noguera was questioned by the police, he said that he never saw the girl's body in that apartment. Can you believe that? I mean, also he never clarified what they did in those 4 hours. At trial, it was learned that a shoe belonging to Juliana was found inside the truck and small traces of blood from the first punches she received inside that Nissan truck. Also inside the apartment they found Juliana's clothing, the other shoe, traces of blood, a bottle of kitchen oil with which Rafael washed the little baby, and a small bracelet belonging to Juliana. Her body was completely torn apart with burst internal organs, multiple lacerations caused by the bites that Rafael made her, and a bottle of liquor and drugs also were found. Rafael declared himself innocent. I mean, there's monster, crazy people, and this stupid guy, how he can say that? Justifying that everything that he had committed had been due to the effect, and pay attention to these people, of the alcohol and excessive abuse of drugs. He used this method like in another unfortunately case of pedophilia. But in South Korea, where the girl Kim Na-jung was raped and the man was declared under the influence of alcohol and drugs, they gave him 12 years in prison. Of course, we're going to talk about that case here. Don't forget to subscribe. Back to the case, the prosecution did not accept the arguments, since Rafael was a habitual consumer of drugs and liquor. He frequented the most dangerous brothels in Bogota. In the middle of the trial, Rafael's lawyer suggested him that it was better accept the charge against him, because if he didn't, the sentence could be higher. Rafael's brothers also were accused of concealment, but, and pay attention to this, Rafael's brother were declared innocent.
Hoy frente a esta decisión son declarados inocentes.
Pues la respeto completamente y no tengo nada más que decir.
I mean, we already know that they guilty. They should be in jail because it's not certain what they did in those 4 hours. But what happened with the Colombian justice, like always, they're free. They were declared innocent. Another curiosity about this case is that the Colombian people asked for a life imprisonment for Rafael.
Justicia, justicia, justicia. Justicia, justicia.
But in Colombia, this kind of condemn, it doesn't exist. And what was the condemn for Rafael? Well, he was sentenced to 58 years in prison in compensation and fined with amount of $373,000. But pay attention to this, and I'm gonna read it. It said, with the legal movements of Rafael's family, the repair time expired due to a lack of time managed by the prosecutor's office and the Attorney General office. In other words, this trash of family, because they do not have other words that perfectly describe them. This kind of trash of family never compensate the other family. But I'm gonna tell you another curious thing about this case. Rafael did not pay the fine, and now he received benefits from the Colombian justice. This is Rafael after the trial, sentenced to 58 years in prison, don't forget, in the maximum security prison in Valledupar. To which he was transferred after the prisoners of the other prison where he was in Bogota, La Picota, tried to assassinate him, tried to kill him. And on the other side, Juliana's parents, the parents of the victim, cannot get a job because people believe that now he's a wealthy person living in his poor neighborhood. The family has also been affected by the ethnic group which they belong, because inside his ethnicity they consider that if he received the money, it's like they think like he's now selling his daughter, basically his daughter's soul. One of the couple of things that I want to submit to this case is that the apartment in which Juliana dies was sold in approximately $170,000, around 740 millones, like a 740 million pesos. That is a lot of money there in Colombia. And I want to add this: please be careful with little children, because we never know what kind of crazy son of a bitch is outside, stalking, waiting on the prowl, trying to find his next victim. Saying that, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. That motivates me a lot. I saw the comments that you were giving me, and I really like that. I really love that. You're awesome, guys, and I will promise I will continue making more amazing videos for you guys. Have a great night, day. I don't know what time it is, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.